Chapter 3992. He didn't stop as he continued to look through her phone. Wen Yuan didn't want him to look through her privacy like that, so she sat up. Yimu Bai was still holding the phone in his hand as he looked at her, but his gaze had changed. After a while, he threw the phone away, picked her up, and whispered into her ear, "Wen Yuan, focus now." Of course, he didn't let go of her phone after he had enjoyed it. After Wen Yuan fell asleep from exhaustion, he took her phone and started to look through her contact list. He looked through it one by one, including the numbers of the delivery company and the piano company. He looked through all of them, not letting go of a single one. After confirming that Bai Jingxuan's number wasn't there, he let out a long sigh. "Xiao Bai?" He sneered. His hair hadn't even fully grown, and he was already trying to snatch his woman. He was furious and woke Wen Yuan up again. It took him 2 more times to vent his anger. However, she was really angry at him when she was sleeping. She turned her back and ignored him, refusing to let him touch her. Now that Yimu Bai was satisfied, his temper had also dissipated. He hugged her from behind and coaxed her for a while. She ignored him, but he was still in good mood. After a few more words of coaxing, he folded her into his arms. If she moved, he would kill her. Wen Yuan didn't move and obediently lay in his arms. She was tired and sleepy, so she didn't care that she was in his arms. Yimu Bai was actually a little exhausted, but he still didn't want to sleep. He lowered his head and looked at the woman in his arms. Just like that, he stretched out his hand and gently stroked her delicate eyebrows, long eyelashes, and red and slightly swollen lips. He felt that it was a little unbelievable. She was clearly quite plain, but she had a fatal attraction to him, and it was a sexual attraction. All men liked her, especially at his age. However, Yimu Bai, had seen many women, and beautiful women weren't rare in his life. However, other than his love for Lin Cixi, there was no one else. As for Wen Yuan, it was a level of infatuation. He thought about it quietly. In the end, he still hugged her and fell asleep. When Wen Yuan woke up, it was already 10 o'clock the next morning. She hurt all over when she moved. She lay there, thinking about everything that had happened last night. She was a mature woman. She knew that he was in so much pain last night. At this moment, she was still in his arms. Wen Yuan closed his eyes and said softly, "You had enough last night. Can you let go of me now? I still have classes in the afternoon." 2 o'clock class. Teacher 1, it's only 10 o'clock now. Yimu Bai leaned against the headboard and said carelessly. Then he reached out to hold her chin and looked at her face carefully. "Do you remember what happened last night?" Wen Yuan looked at him warily. She licked her lips. "What do you mean? Bai Jingxian, what do you plan to do?" His fingers caressed her face as he said softly, "I don't want to see Lu Man, Lin Danny, or Lin Xuanyi. Are you not going to see Kong Xiao and Bai Jingxian? Oh right, you can see Kong Xiao if you want. After all, he's an old friend." Anyway, Kong Xiao had slept with Su Mo, so she had no chance with Wen Yuan. In Yimu Bai's heart, she was no longer competitive. Wen Yuan bit her lips and wrapped herself in the bedsheet. She glared at him. "You're so generous." He smiled. "Why? You don't believe me? I said that there are conditions. If Bai Jingxian keeps showing up in front of you, think about whether you want to continue teaching him. Mrs. Yi, it's our duty to maintain family harmony. What do you think?" Chapter 3993. Wen Yuan glared at him angrily. "Yimu Bai, can you be any more shameless?" He still smiled faintly. "Wen Yuan, what do you think?" He hugged her and said in a low voice, "You're my wife. Isn't it normal for me to be jealous, huh?" Wen Yuan didn't want to talk to him. She slapped him away and got out of the blanket, but her body was unbearable, so she shrunk back into it. Yimu Bai chuckled. He hugged her and gently stroked the marks on her shoulder. "Are you shy?" They had been married for several years and had done it countless times, but Wen Yuan still wasn't used to showing it in front of him. She looked very cute in his eyes when she was shy. Wen Yuan lowered her eyes and didn't want to talk to him. He smiled. "I didn't go to the hospital yesterday, did I?" Su Mo took the initiative to go on behalf of Secretary He. She knew that Lu Man was allergic to lilies, so she sent a bouquet of lilies over. As you can imagine, Lu Man refused to perform. "I didn't see her. Are you satisfied, Mrs. Yi?" Wen Yuan turned around and looked at him. Her eyes were a little red, but she didn't say anything, because she didn't want to mention Lu Man. No woman would want to mention a woman who had slept with their husband. It was annoying to mention, not to mention that they had slept together. Yi Mubai looked at her and knew that she hadn't gotten over it yet. He didn't say anything and just held her in his arms for a long time before he murmured, "It won't happen again. Wen Yuan, you have to have confidence in our marriage. You have to have confidence in me, okay?" She said softly that she didn't know. He hugged her and coaxed her shamelessly. "I only want to sleep with a woman named Wen Yuan in this life." He was right. She had indeed made him very satisfied. He didn't need other women, and he had never imagined doing anything with other women. That ridiculous period of time came from losing his memory, but it was undeniable that he had hugged other women during that period of time. Lu Man was one of them, but it wasn't special. Wen Yuan lowered her head even more. Who knows what will happen in the future? She looked at him and smiled, so he knew that she didn't trust him. Yi Mubai didn't say anything more. He asked someone to bring them some clothes. After taking a shower, they had lunch together in the hotel. The couple didn't talk much, just playing with their phones. Today, Yi Mubai had to deal with Lu Man's refusal to perform. Meanwhile, Wen Yuan was scrolling through Weibo. As soon as she clicked on it, she was shocked. The #1 trending topic was hashtag Bai Jingxian's dream lover. She instinctively felt that it was related to her, so she clicked on it and saw that it was a message from Bai Jingxian. It was a heart with a picture of Wen Yuan playing the piano many years ago. At that time, Wen Yuan was 28 years old. As soon as the Weibo post was posted, it exploded. Outstanding netizens quickly dug up Wen Yuan's photo and even dug up the trending photos from the last Starlight annual gala. Wen Yuan and Yi Mubai sat side by side like fairies. As a result, the netizens exploded. They incessantly tagged Bai Jingxian and asked him if he liked married women. What's more, this married woman was the wife of Starlight Entertainment CEO, while Bai Jingxian was the popular fried chicken of King Entertainment. This trending topic was very thought-provoking. Wen Yuan's scalp went numb. He quietly left and wanted to ask Su Mo, who knew that when he opened his Weibo, he would see countless messages from Su Mo. "Wen Yuan, you're finished. You're going to be skinned. President Yi will skin you and interrogate you. Wen Yuan, are you going to be skinned or stripped?" Chapter 3994. Wen Yuan frowned. Why did he smell a hint of schadenfreude? She typed in word by word, "I haven't seen your CEO Yi yet. What should I do now?" Su Mo replied immediately, "Play dead. Let him deal with it." Wen Yuan replied with a play dead emoji and then put down the phone. 10 minutes later, Yi Mubai was still dealing with the matter. She opened Weibo again and saw that the trending topic was still there. Moreover, there was a new post hashtag CEO of Stars brings his love rival, but he doesn't know. Wen Yuan swallowed hard and asked Su Mo quietly, "Why doesn't he know?" Su Mo replied with a mischievous emoji, "Because CEO Yi cares about you very much. No one dares to mention it, so he doesn't know. Wen Yuan, why don't you hide? I welcome you here, but the rent is a little expensive." Wen Yuan let out a long sigh and pressed down again. "How about we arrange for him and Lu Man to be on the trending topic?" Su Mo quickly sent a message. "Bah, Wen Yuan, you're out of your mind. Now that CEO Yi has a love rival, you should go all out against him. You can tie him to your waist spiritually and not let him go physically. With the stimulation of the little wolf dog, a middle-aged man like CEO, Yi probably wants to show that he's not old. So Wen Yuan, enjoy it." Su Mo finally sent an evil emoji. Wen Yuan was speechless. She put down the phone and sighed softly. Yi Mubai noticed it. He took a sip of the aperitif and asked indifferently, "What's wrong?" Wen Yuan stabbed a piece of steak with his fork and looked at her while eating. Then he said softly, "Actually, what you said is quite reasonable. I will keep a distance from Bai Jingxian." Her words probably pleased him. Yi Mubai smiled. "Mrs. Yi, you're so conscious. Did you find last night that an old man's experience can satisfy you?" Wen Yuan bit his lip. "Yi Mubai, this is a restaurant, not a home. Others can't hear you." He smiled and reached out to gently caress her face. Her face was very delicate, and she looked good even without makeup. She was really blessed by heaven among women in their 30s. He didn't think that she was old in her 30s and just wanted to find a young lady. Wen Yuan was beautiful and feminine, and he was a few years older than her. In his eyes, she was a young lady. Besides, they had Yi Hui. He could treat Yi Hui as he had spoiled her since she was young. All his regrets would be gone. This was the romance in Yi Mubai's heart. Wen Yuan didn't know, and he didn't tell her. At this moment, he was quite moved. His fingers touched for a long time before he put them down and said in a hoarse voice, "I'll go to the company later. I'll ask the driver to take you to school later." Seeing that she objected, he said hoarsely, "Listen to me. I'm very busy these days." Wen Yuan didn't know what to say, mainly because he felt guilty. She didn't have the confidence to be confessed to by a male celebrity who was 10 years younger than her. After all, she had a husband. So after dinner, she got his car. Good times didn't last long. In the car, he turned on a music station. When the host was talking about the program, he intentionally or unintentionally mentioned today's hot topic and teased by Jingshuan's confession. Peach, by Jing Xian, said that he was grateful to the teacher. "What do you think?" The one called Peach laughed exaggeratedly. "If Teacher Wen was 20 years older, I would believe it." Chapter 3995. The host also smiled warmly. But soon there was a trending topic hashtag, #StarCO doesn't know. Sister Peach laughed exaggeratedly. The crisis of a middle-aged man. He's bald and has a low sex appeal. He can't be compared with a 24-year-old wolfhound. Peach, if you were to pick between CEO Yi and Bai Jingxian, who are worth tens of billions of yuan. When Yuan's hands were sweating, Yi Mubai glanced at her and continued driving. On the radio, Sister Peach was still laughing exaggeratedly. "I choose a wolfhound with muscles and good looks." The host laughed again. "So today we're talking about the crisis of a middle-aged man. By the way, Peach, have you heard of the White Dragon Club?" Peach's voice was full of exaggerated surprise. "Are you talking about the young lady who bought 27 gifts? I'm looking forward to Mrs. Ye's birthday party for Bai Jingxian. I wonder what the 24 gifts will be." Yi Mubai turned off the radio calmly and turned to look at Wen Yuan. "You knew it just now?" "What?" Wen Yuan pretended to be dead. "Does the White Dragon Club have anything to do with me?" Yi Mubai was still driving, his voice indifferent. "The middle-aged man they're talking about is me, Wen Yuan. Am I bald? Do you want to call them and tell them how many times your husband did it last night?" Wen Yuan looked down. "Yi Mubai, you're making me angry. I didn't ask Bai Jingxian to post on Weibo. I didn't do anything to him. It was you who had sex with someone else." He was angry and amused. "Wen Yuan, be reasonable. Now the whole world is talking about your husband. What do you say?" There was a red light ahead. He stopped the car. Wen Yuan blinked, leaned against the back of the seat, and bit his thumb. "Why don't you satisfy Peach? Let her tell the whole world that you're good?" He was angry and amused. He reached out to pinch her face. "Mrs. Yi, do you think I'm interested in any woman?" At least in the past few years, his body and mind were clean, and he didn't want to hug other women at all. Lu Man was very feminine and charming, but when a man was satisfied every night, other women would lose their sexual attraction. In terms of sex, he seemed to have a special liking for Wen Yuan. At this moment, the car behind him honked. He did not say anything, nor did he instruct the public relations department to deal with it. When he got out of the car at Stars Entertainment, there were reporters outside the car. There were 3 layers of reporters surrounding the Stars Entertainment building. They seemed to be squatting there. Wen Yuan didn't want to continue. Yi Mubai looked at her and said, "Do you want others to think that you and Bai Jingxian don't get along? Do you want to add another heavy brush to the matter between you and Bai Jingxian?" Only then did Wen Yuan get out of the car. He helped her down and ignored the reporters. Under the escort of the security guards, they walked into the building, holding Wen Yuan's hand the entire time. Wen Yuan was held by him. The reporter kept asking in her ear, "Mrs. Yi, what do you think about Bai Jingshuan's confession?" Yi Mubai stopped and put his arm around Wen Yuan's shoulder. He smiled and said, "Bai Jingxian is my wife's student. We husband and wife regard him as our own." Chapter 3996. Wen Yuan also looked at him and felt that it was rather shameless of him to say those words. After Yi Mubai finished speaking, he said very calmly. My wife and I really hope that our child, Yi Xiangnan, will be as outstanding as Bai Jingxian in the future. As for my wife and I, our relationship is as stable as the stock of starlight. After Yi Mubai finished speaking, he smiled faintly and lowered his head. Is it Wen Yuan? With so many cameras on him, Wen Yuan could only smile faintly. Yi Mubai leaned forward and kissed her lips. He held her hand and ignored the reporters. 5 minutes later, the hashtag Viceru was trending. Yi Mubai brought Wen Yuan to his office and said indifferently, Take a day off today. Wen Yuan looked at him. Why? He looked at her, amused. You want to go out and drown? Wen Yuan pursed his lips. But they could have done PR and removed the trending topic. I won't spend that kind of money. If Bai Jingxian likes it, then let it be our son. He smiled faintly. I'll take him swimming in the afternoon. Of course, Wen Yuan was unwilling, but Yi Mubai would never change his mind once he made up his mind. He worked until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then he took her to a private resort villa. There was an open-air swimming pool, and the water was very clear. Wen Yuan was not in the mood to swim. She just sat by the pool, wearing a swimsuit and a towel. She watched as Yi Mubai swam back and forth a few times, but he did not seem tired at all. She suddenly remembered that he had actually done it many times last night. He had expended so much energy, and his stamina was abnormally good. She scrolled through her phone in boredom. Looking at that man, she felt that he was evil. He decided not to look at it anymore and threw his phone to the side. Yi Mubai came out of the water, propped himself up with one hand, and sat next to her. He casually took a towel to dry his hair. Why didn't you go into the water? No. Wen Yuan looked at him. Aren't you very busy? He grunted vaguely and rubbed her face. Swim 2 laps with me. Okay. She refused, so he went into the water and dragged her down. Wen Yuan glared at him. He smiled wickedly at her. Do in the water or swim. Pick one. Wen Yuan pushed him away and swam forward first. She was a good swimmer. He smiled and followed her. After swimming 2 laps back and forth, she leaned against the side of the pool to rest. Yi Mubai swam a few more laps. When he came back, he suddenly kissed her from the bottom up in the water. Yi Mubai. Wen Yuan's voice trembled. He didn't expect Yi Mubai to do this. He finally kissed her neck, her lips, and his gaze locked onto her. Then, he lifted her up and placed her on the edge of the pool. Standing, he was level with her. His body, which was only wearing a pair of swimming trunks, was slender and especially seductive. He held Wen Yuan's face and kissed her deeply. When she resisted, he grabbed her hands and wrapped them around his waist. Her posture was particularly seductive and shameful. When the photo went on the hot search list, everyone in the world saw it. The 38-year-old Yi Mubai always had muscles, and he was in good shape. Moreover, his sex appeal did not decrease. From the photos taken, he stayed in the pool for 4 to 5 hours when Yuan woke up in the villa. It was past 9 o'clock in the evening. She sat up and was kissed on the face. You're awake? Yi Mubai's voice was very hoarse. Wen Yuan looked around and realized that they were still in the holiday villa. She scratched her hair. Xiangnan and Yi Hui. At Mom's place. These days, just the 2 of us, he said very calmly. Wen Yuan's scalp tightened. Chapter 39-97. When he released her, he smiled. Get up and eat. He had just turned around when Wen Yuan pulled him back. Yi Mubai, she knew what he meant. He brought her here to torment her because he was angry. If she didn't stay away from Bai Jingxian, he would torment her like this in the future. Wen Yuan was quite speechless. He felt that he was detestable and childish. She licked her lips and said softly, Bai Jingxian is 24 years old. You mean, only when I'm 34 can I have a sense of crisis. He leaned over and murmured. Wen Yuan bit his lip. I didn't think so. He smiled. Wen Yuan, don't think too much. I just wanted to take you out to relax. You've been unhappy lately, and I'm not in a good mood either. He said that he was in a bad mood, but Wen Yuan did not believe him. He was clearly in a good mood and was in high spirits. Why doesn't he feel weak? How nice would that be? Her world would be peaceful. Oh, right. She would accompany him to take a look at the andrology department. What kind of man was Yi Mubai? He didn't do anything in front of outsiders, but when they left, he would push you against the wall and make you hover between life and death. She hadn't seen it before. In this regard, Wen Yuan particularly disliked Yi Mubai. Wen Yuan liked emotional resonance, but Yi Mubai pursued sensory or physical stimulation. Wen Yuan was wrong about this. All men were like this. No man liked a platonic relationship, unless he couldn't do it himself. Before a man gets a woman, he's a gentleman. After getting her, he's no different from a beast. Wen Yuan simply lay down and covered his head with the blanket. At this moment, Yi Mubai's voice inadvertently sounded, "This isn't good. I think we're trending." She suddenly popped her head out. Yi Mubai went downstairs with his phone in hand. Wen Yuan anxiously looked for his phone, but he couldn't find it no matter how hard he tried. She could only run downstairs in her bathrobe. Yi Mubai sat in front of the dining table. The table was filled with Western food, which was very exquisite. She sat down and stretched out her hand. "Where's your phone?" He handed her phone back to her, and Wen Yuan kept scrolling through it. Then he was stunned. Hot search number 1, overnight best actors, abs. Hot search number 2, movie king and wife frolicking in the pool for 4 hours. Third most searched, 38 years old. Is middle-aged? The fourth was Bai Jingshuan's confession. The first thing she saw was the image of her and Yi Mubai kissing by the pool. Most of it was his muscular and sexy back, and she could only see his hair and one side of his face. It was well covered, but there was also a gif of them kissing. Wen Yuan was so angry that he was about to cry. "Yi Mubai was arranged by you, right?" He smiled at her. "I'm just declaring my sovereignty. Is that wrong? Besides, I don't want the whole world to misunderstand that Wen Yuan can't be satisfied." Wen Yuan really wanted to smash the plate on his face. "Yi Mubai, you're childish. That's not what you said when you were feeling good just now." He smiled faintly and then said hatefully, "What do you think the radio program will say tomorrow?" Wen Yuan couldn't be bothered with him. She finished eating and ran upstairs. Su Mo called, taking pleasure in Bai Jingshuan's misfortune. "I told you, you should be skinned alive. Bai Jingxian is really a godly assistant." Su Mo thought to herself. At this moment, President Yi couldn't be thinking about Yi Man or Oscar. It was all because his wife was being targeted by a little wolf dog. She sighed in her heart. This Bai Jingxian was not bad, but it was a pity that he was destined to be the second. Their ages didn't match, and Wen Yuan wouldn't find a man 10 years younger than her. Moreover, Wen Yuan was married. Sumo thought for a moment. He wasn't married, so he would update tomorrow. Chapter 3998. Yi Mubai taught Wen Yuan a lesson and vented his anger on dastardly Lang, proving that he was not a 38-year-old middle-aged man. He was still far from the word old man. Later, he went on the show's celebrity interview. After discussing the business model of Stars Entertainment, the host asked him a question with great interest. "Mr. Yi, I think many women in front of the TV want to ask you a question. What's the most important thing to keep a marriage fresh?" Yi Mubai smiled slightly and said indifferently, "It should be love, right? True love can't be kept fresh. For example, my wife pursued me crazily, so I want to thank you for your contribution to our marriage." Crazy pursuit. The host's voice trembled with excitement. "Then do you love your wife, Mr. Yi?" Yi Mubai didn't answer directly, but his eyes were full of affection. "Mr. Wen should be able to feel whether I love her or not. Then Mrs. Yi must be very happy." The host's voice was dry. Yi Mubai smiled faintly, looking very carefree and relaxed. As a man who was pursued by a woman crazily, he had to be reserved. This interview was on the hot search list for 3 days. People were imagining how active Wen Yuan was in pursuing Yi Mubai. They even sympathized with Bai Jingxian. The goddess loved her husband very much. It was impossible for her to take the initiative. Wen Yuan felt that he had to wear sunglasses when he went out. Inexplicably, she also became an internet celebrity. When she went to class again, the students looked at her with admiration in their eyes, and their voices were full of excitement when they called her Mr. Wen. Prince Charming also called Mr. Wen. Thinking about it, maybe Mr. Wen was a nickname in bed. Wen Yuan felt that his worldview was ruined. But she couldn't get angry with him. The middle-aged man's means of torture were terrible. She met Bai Jingxian once. He didn't come to class, but appeared next to her car after Wen Yuan's class. There were many students at that time. He took off his sunglasses and said, "Can I have a cup of coffee?" Wen Yuan was already in the car. She could actually refuse, but she thought about it and agreed. She sat with Bai Jingxian in the cafe at the gate of the school. He might have arranged this. There was no one else in the cafe except for the two of them. Wen Yuan took a sip of coffee and looked up. "I know you want to help me." Because of Lu Man and the crisis of her marriage. She had never thought that Bai Jingxian was the kind of person who would take advantage of others when they were down. Just like the young Yimu Bai. Bai Jingxian smiled faintly. "Wen Yuan, I'll call you Wen Yuan. It's weird to call you teacher outside of school." Wen Yuan smiled. Bai Jingxuan's voice was very soft. "If you like someone, you have the right to confess. I just said it at the right time. Wen Yuan, you don't have to feel burdened. I will like someone else in the future, and I will get married. Everyone I meet is a scenery in my journey, but you are more beautiful." He said goodbye to her after drinking. Bai Jingxian, Wen Yuan, Jingxian, I Ming Jingxian, you. I want you to be happy. He drank the coffee and said goodbye to her. Wen Yuan stopped him. "Bai Jingxian, aren't you afraid of losing fans?" He turned back and smiled. "I like to be loyal to my feelings. It's not a pity if I lose fans when I like a good person." Chapter 3999. In the end, he still said goodbye and left. Wen Yuan sat there quietly. She seemed to see her past self in Bai Jingxian, but he was much calmer than her. If she hadn't been so passionate back then, she might have married Kong Xiao instead. Wen Yuan sighed. She didn't go home. Instead, she went to the bar to have a drink with Su Imo. Su Imo tilted her head. "Wen Yuan, why do I feel that you've become much more energetic after meeting Bai Jingxian? A little puppy is indeed different." Wen Yuan looked at her. "The photo of you drinking coffee with Bai Jingxian is trending again. I don't believe that CEO Yi didn't look for you." "Wen Yuan, have you turned off your phone now?" Su Imo asked maliciously. Wen Yuan looked at her and pursed his lips before sighing. Bai Jingxian is like Mubai back then. He's really a little tempting. Su Imo stammered. "You can't really be tempted, right? Do you want to try eating grass?" Wen Yuan frowned. "What old cow? I'm only 34. But a little puppy is only 24. Su Imo Shanin said, "Actually, I also want to take a bite." Looking at the younger version of CEO Yi, it's really fresh and tender. She said strangely, "Wen Yuan, you didn't even try Yimu Bai when he was young, did you?" In fact, in terms of looks, Bai Jingxian was still a little inferior. CEO Ye's looks were still admirable even in the entertainment circle. Even his muscles were of the highest quality, and he was not greasy at all. She lowered her voice. "But he also seduced you with his looks, didn't he?" Wen Yuan was speechless. Su Imo smiled and poured another glass for Wen Yuan. Wen Yuan didn't want to drink it. Su Imo smiled again. "Drink it. I've called CEO Yi. He'll be here soon." Wen Yuan stared at her. All right, be a good woman. Do you still want to get drunk and find a man to have a good time with?" Su Imo sighed. "Actually, CEO Yi loves you. Wen Yuan, don't you feel it?" Wen Yuan didn't say anything. He loved her, but there were still problems between them. He was too domineering. She picked up the glass of wine and took a small sip before saying, "Su Imo, I don't know what he's doing. Is he trying to make up for it, or is he trying to stop me from leaving? You know, these words are like a brand, engraving his name all over my body." Su Imo complained, "Look at me. I don't have a single mark on me. I'm so lonely." She tricked Wen Yuan into drinking more. Since Wen Yuan was going to suffer tonight, it was better for him to be a little drunk. There was a photo of her and Bai Jingxian sitting in a cafe on Weibo. It was quite beautiful, so she secretly saved it. Actually, from the looks of it now, Wen Yuan had the capital to instantly crush a bunch of beauties in the entertainment industry. Take Lu Man as an example. She was indeed very charming, but the faint air of a prostitute couldn't be hidden. Wen Yuan, on the other hand, was pleasant to look at. He had a scholarly air about him, and he had the temperament that he had cultivated since he was young. As soon as Su Imo finished speaking, Yi Mubai arrived and sat across from Wen Yuan without saying anything. Wen Yuan looked at him. He smiled warmly. Have you calmed down? For some reason, Wen Yuan's eyes were a little red. She lowered her head to hide it. I don't know what you're talking about. He still looked at her and smiled. Let's talk at home. She resisted and said that she wanted a drink with Su Mo. In the end, he carried her away in front of so many people. Chapter 4000, where he placed Wen Yuan on the passenger seat. He did not close the door immediately. Instead, he said softly, I'll bring him home. She felt a little wronged, but she did not make a sound and just leaned against the back of the seat. Yi Mubai smiled and closed the car door gently. He did not speak on the way back to the villa. When she was about to get out of the car, he held her hand. You met him because you think I'm too overbearing, right? Wen Yuan bit his lip. What do you think? He laughed. Wen Yuan, you're already a mother of two, but you're still quite childish sometimes. He leaned over and kissed the corner of her lips. It was a light kiss, and his voice was extremely husky. You weren't like this in the past. You used to be very mature and sensible. I spoiled you rotten, didn't I? Her eyes widened as he continued to kiss her, his voice getting even huskier. But Wen Yuan is so damn cute like this. It makes me want to bully you again. She was a little flustered, and her eyes widened a little. Just as he said, he was a little cute. He was still kissing her, her chin, her ear. You like him because he looks like me when I was young, don't you? She said weakly. No, liar. He bit her ear gently. Wen Yuan is lying. He carried her out of the car and back to the villa. She was drunk and was at his mercy. At this moment, Yi Mubai felt that Su Mo was not bad. And Wen Yuan did not know how much effort he had put in to get by Jing Xuan's boss, China Mo, to get him out of City B to film in another city. She was an eyesore, especially since her name had the word "by" in it, and she looked a little like him. She was a shadow, a substitute, and he would not allow her to exist in Wen Yuan's heart. He was just that overbearing and autocratic. Their lives were not too long, and there was really no need for a third party to exist between them. In the bar, after Yi Mubai took Wen Yuan away, Su Mo drank alone. It was good to be alone. Wen Yuan, a well-fed man, did not know the suffering of a starving man. It wasn't easy for her, Su Mo, to finally have sex with him, yet he still wanted to get tested for HIV. Just thinking about it made her feel wronged. Moreover, the man she had liked for several years was actually so despicable and a male whore. Su Mo flipped through by Jing Xuan's photo and thought to herself, why does every man I date like Wen Yuan? Wen Yuan doesn't even need him anymore. What a waste. She thought about it again. Was it because her breasts were too small that men couldn't discover her beauty? Su Mo lowered his head and looked at himself, wondering if he should get an erection. Her fingers were still gently caressing the photo on her phone. This Xiaobai was really not bad. A 24-year-old puppy must have great stamina. She was just thinking about it. Single women could only think about it and fantasize about it. Right at this moment, his phone was taken away. Su Mo was stunned for a moment before he looked up. It was Concho. He was also wearing a black shirt and jeans, showing off his slender figure, but it was also quite dark. Su Mo glanced at him. What's wrong? Are you here to hunt for beauties dressed like this? Are you not going to pretend to be a sunshine angel anymore? Concho's phone gently swiped across by Jing Xuan's photo. What about you? You're so thirsty that you won't even let off a 24-year-old? He leaned over. Manager Su, you seem to be in your early 30s. If you're really that thirsty, I can introduce you to a few male models so that you won't have to fantasize about an old cow eating young grass. Let me remind you out of goodwill that by Jing Xuan's family background is very good, and he won't accept such a loose woman. Su Mo scoffed out coldly. His family background is good, so he doesn't need to be a male whore like Concho, selling stocks and sleeping with old women. Is that what you're trying to say? Concho's face turned extremely ugly as he pinched her chin with his fingers. Su Mo, be careful with what you say. Are you afraid that I'll reveal that I'm a male whore? Are you afraid that your fans won't be able to accept your purity? Su Mo raised his head and smiled devilishly. Concho, are you really that dark inside that you wish for everyone else to be as dark as you? Chapter 4001. Kong Xiao's face darkened. Suemo, what do you think you know? Suemo chuckled and said fearlessly, "You've been a prostitute for so long and have so much money that you can't even finish spending. You can have countless young and beautiful women in front of you, but you can never get the one you want the most. You still have to pretend to be a white lotus flower in front of him. Aren't you tired, Kong Xiao? I think you're tired. Why don't you just tell Wen Yuan that you're a male whore and that you've been a prostitute for so long? Then we could be good sisters and even have a drink together. Isn't that great?" Kong Xiao narrowed his eyes and stared at Sumo's face. He wanted to strangle her. Sumo raised her face. "Actually, you and Lu Man are the same kind of people. I suggest that if you really love Wen Yuan, you go and have sex with Lu Man and start a scandal. That way, everyone will be happy." Kong Xiao's Adam's apple bobbed as he glared at the hateful woman in front of him. No, she couldn't be called a woman at all. She was hateful. "You're very generous." He gritted his teeth, dragged her up, and walked towards the bathroom. Suemo didn't know what he was going to do, so she struggled. "What are you doing?" Kong Xiao had already forcefully flung her against the wall. Suemo could only see stars, but when she came back to her senses, her vision went black. His body was pressing down on her shoulders, and his soft lips were nibbling on hers, kissing her violently. Suemo was stunned. Then she desperately hit his shoulder. "Kong Xiao, let go of me. You want to be a male whore, but I don't want to have a prostitute." She kept calling him a male whore. He was so angry that he pinched her chin and forced her to open her mouth. He kissed her deeply and shamelessly under her gaze. Later, when she was gasping for air, he roughly pinched her chin and narrowed his eyes. "Today, I'll show you what a male whore looks like." He held Suemo with one hand and squatted down. Suemo was stunned. Although it was dark here, people could come over at any time. He was doing this to her here, and didn't he think it was dirty? At last, when she was in a terrible state of confusion, he abominably flung her away. He wiped his lower lip and looked at her fragile look. "Now you know what it means to be a male whore." He pulled over her bag, took out a few $100 bills, and finally stuffed them into her arms. "Comfortable? If you're not satisfied, you can go to the White Dragon Society and find a few men to serve you well. Manager Sue, none of us are cleaner than the other." After Kong Xiao finished speaking, he straightened his clothes and left. Sumo's legs were still soft, and her body was in a mess. She couldn't believe that he had abandoned her like this. He was too despicable. At this moment, a drunkard who came out of nowhere approached her and wanted to ask her out. "Make an appointment with your boss." Suemo smacked him on the head with the bag and ran out of the dark corridor as if she was running for her life. When she ran out, she was covered in sweat, and her face was pale. Now she just wanted to kill that bastard Kong Xiao, that whore. What kind of person would abandon someone halfway through? Was she really going to find a male model to appease her anger? Just when Suemo was about to kill someone, Kong Xiao silently appeared from behind and easily brought her to his car with one arm. Suemo wanted to struggle, but he put on the seatbelt and said softly, "If you don't want it, get out of the car and find a duckling. There's one in front, 500 a night." Suemo glared at him. "Kong Xiao, how much do you pay for a night? Hurry up and read the latest update." Chapter 4002. He turned his head and stared at her deeply. After a long while, he said, "I can't get up. Bitch." Suemo slapped the car window like a madman. "Where are you taking me then? Why'd you treat me like that just now?" Kong Xiao was still driving. Then, he said indifferently, "I can send you off for free once." Suemo was stunned. He continued to say, "Since you're so desperate for a man." Suemo snapped back to reality and yelled, "You're the one who's desperate for a man. Kong Xiao, let me out of the car. Otherwise, I'll let the whole world know about this. Isn't it an unspoken rule? How did it escalate to a fuck? I'm very expensive. Do you think I'll be taken advantage of by ordinary women, especially those who have no money, no resources, and no money?" He said harshly. Suemo glanced at him. "I'll go to Longxiong right away." He smiled harshly again. "Then, you'll deceive men who don't know you and make them think that Longxiong has a thin waist?" He paused for a moment. Do you believe it yourself? Suemo put a hand on his shoulder. It sounds very shameful of my behavior, Mr. White Lotus. Humph. He really thinks that he's a virgin, a male whore who sleeps with women. Tang Xiao took her directly to a 5-star hotel. When they entered together, the receptionist looked at him as if she recognized him but wasn't sure. It was mainly because Kong Xiao was too dark at this time, and he used Su Mo's name to get a room. Su Mo was speechless. She mouthed to the receptionist, "He's Kong Xiao." She was drunk, but the receptionist wasn't. Her eyes were wide open. "Oh my God, it's Kong Xiao, the prince of the violin and messing around." Later, the hotel staff counted and found that the prince of the violin had used 5 teas in one night. There were many women's hair on the bed. Just thinking about it was exciting. At this time, Kong Xiao dragged Su Mo into the presidential suite. As soon as the door was closed, Su Mo leaned against the door and kicked off her high heels. She stared at him with an unruly gaze. "What? Are you addicted to sleeping with me?" She put her arms around his neck provocatively. "You asked me to do it because you want to show me your experience report. Otherwise, how would I know if this male whore has gotten sick again recently?" Kong Xiao held her waist with one hand and pulled her into his embrace. His body was very hot. He lowered his head, and his voice was especially hoarse. "If I'm sick, it's because of me. Recently, the only person I've been sleeping with is Manager Su." His hand slowly moved down. "Recently, I seem to have a feeling for airports." She widened her eyes and bit her lip, unwilling to be tamed by a male whore. She raised her head and said, "Is that so? But I don't have any feelings for you. Kong Xiao, you're just a teddy. Then you like teddy too." He lifted her up with one hand and threw her onto the bed while kissing her. Then he bent his knees and kissed her again. When she tried to resist, he held her hand and raised it above her head. Kong Xiao was the kind of man who had a refreshing appearance and a handsome face. However, in private, especially in bed, he was especially rough. No one would easily know this side of him. However, Su Mo was fortunate enough to get to know him. He was just like that night. In fact, he was even more excessive than that night. Perhaps it was because he didn't need to disguise himself. In front of her, he could be himself. After a night of torment, he used 5 of them. Chapter 4003. When it was almost dawn, Su Mo collapsed under his body and fell asleep from exhaustion. Kong Xiao narrowed his eyes and his mind cleared up. Tonight, he had lost control. He and Su Mo should be 2 parallel lines that should never cross each other, let alone go to bed with each other. However, he couldn't help but roll in bed with her for the whole night. Perhaps it was because of her straightforwardness, but he didn't need to be the elegant Kong Xiao when he was with her. He didn't need to pretend. He was a man with normal needs. A man who would want to tear off a woman's clothes when he saw her, was the first woman he despised for being small. Of course, he was very satisfied with having sex with her. It didn't matter whether she was small or not. Su Mo was very thin, and her waist was especially slender. The line of her waistline was especially attractive, and he especially liked to hug her from behind. Kong Xiao smoked slowly and looked at Su Mo from time to time. By the time she woke up, it was already 10 in the morning. Su Mo woke up and found that her waist was about to break. She grabbed her hair and sat up, only to find that he was still on the bed. She was especially annoyed. "Are you waiting for me to write you a check?" He stared at her and suddenly said, "How about 5 million a month?" She exclaimed and looked at him with a gaze that made his hair stand on end. 5 million a month? I don't know how many puppies I have, but this one," he reached out and pinched her chin with 2 fingers. She couldn't say the word male whore and could only open her eyes wide. Kong Xiao's voice was calm. "I'm the one who's paying 5 million a month." Sumo's eyes widened even more and she slapped him away. "You're not kidding, right?" She was so depraved that she needed no male whore. His voice was very hoarse. "I'm not selling it. I'm a man and I have physical needs too." Su Mo laughed dryly. "I got it. Those women are just adulterers, taking what they need." After she said that, her expression turned strange. She looked at him and wrapped herself in the bed sheet. Honestly, with his body, looks, stamina, and skills, it was worth it even if he paid for it. She really didn't know what had gotten into him to give her 5 million a month. Suemo knew that she was indeed a shortcoming of not having a small body. But he just gnawed happily, and he even had to spend money to gnaw on it. For a moment, Suemo wondered if men's taste had changed recently. Did they like her? Anyway, after 2 nights, she also felt that he seemed to be quite obsessed with her body. 5 million. Her annual salary was only slightly more than 10 million. She was a casual person. She didn't have a family, and her nest in B City was only temporary. She didn't even think about getting married, so she didn't reject Kong Qiao's proposal. To put it bluntly, his body was very compatible, and he was willing to pay, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. She looked at him and did not object. Kong Qiao knew what she was thinking and smiled. Then, he found a check out of nowhere. This is for half a year. I'll call you when I'm in B City. You can also look for me when you're on a business trip in America. She accepted it. It felt weird. Concho stubbed out the cigarette, dragged her out from under the quilt, and pressed her under his body. I'm going to France tomorrow for a week. I'll stay here tonight. She resisted. I have to go to work. Chapter 4004. Take a day off. He didn't allow her to refuse. I haven't had enough. Suemo didn't know how many adult men there were. Her limited experience was with an ex-boyfriend, but they broke up after only half a year. Moreover, that guy really couldn't compare with Kong Qiao in this aspect. Kong Qiao would definitely become popular if he was a duckling. Suemo thought while enjoying it. She also knew that Kong Qiao wouldn't like her. He paid, so they were in a business relationship. As for her, she could just treat him as a duckling without a man. Finally, Suemo put her hand on his shoulder and panted. I want you to give me a medical report every month. He stared at her and curled his lips. No problem. He didn't say that he wouldn't sleep with others, but he was willing to experience it. He didn't ask her to belong to him, just to buy her body. Suemo felt that she was so cheap. If she needed money, she could go to Yuan. Why did she have to sell herself? She knew very well that she was just greedy for a man's body. It was a tacit understanding. They didn't make any promises, just a 30 million check. She and Kong Qiao spent 24 hours on the bed in a 5-star hotel. In the morning, he got dressed and told her that he was going to the apartment to pick up his luggage and fly to France. He would contact her when he came back. He also gave her a key to the apartment. He didn't say anything else, but they were one. He didn't intend to love her, only to have sex with her. He didn't even need to feel sorry for her when it came to money. Suemo knew that he was ruthless, but fortunately, she didn't intend to be deeply in love with him. However, she still liked Kong Qiao, so on the 6th night of his flight to France, she went to his apartment. She wanted to see this place first. After all, maybe she would stay here occasionally in the future. But when Suemo opened the door, she was stunned. It was something she had never thought about, or maybe she had never wanted to think about. The apartment was very messy, with clothes of both men and women everywhere. It looked very extravagant at night. She knew that Tang Xiao was back, but she didn't know who was in bed with him. She opened the bedroom door gently, and the man and woman were still entangled, sitting together and kissing. Kong Qiao saw Suemo first, and his eyes immediately became sharp and calm. Get out. Suemo frowned. The woman turned her head, and Suemo was a bit shocked when she saw her. It was his manager, Wanyan, a woman who was said to be unmarried and had single-handedly created Konkyo's legend, a woman who was very important to Kanxiao. It turned out that there was something going on between them. Suemo didn't cry. It wasn't worth it to cry over a male whore. She leaned against the doorway and threw the key on Konkyo's bed. I'm really curious as to who paid who. Wanyan was a top agent. Although she was 34 years old, she was beautiful, elegant, and had a good demeanor. She quickly put on her clothes. Kong Xiao, you talk. Suemo shook his head. No, I just want to add that I have no interest in sharing something with others. Kong Xiao, I also have no interest in selling myself. She only accepted the money because she wanted his body. She wanted to find a man or have sex with him. How messy. Suemo wasn't interested, not to mention that he had slept with his manager. What a shameless man. Hurry up and read the latest update. Chapter 4005. Su Mo was about to leave when Kong Xiao grabbed her wrist and gestured for Wan Yun to leave first. Wan Yun shrugged and said gently, Kong Xiao, don't be angry. Let's talk about it. She and Kong Xiao were complete pals for many years. They didn't do it often and would only do it when both of them were in the mood. The last time they did it was about half a year ago. Tonight, Kong Xiao suddenly asked her to stay the night. He seemed to have something on his mind and kissed her for a long time. If it wasn't for Su Mo, they might not have done it tonight, because Kong Xiao really wasn't into it. Wan Yin was very open in this aspect. It was a manager's basic principle not to fall in love with her artist. She wouldn't ruin her hard work because of her personal feelings. After all, Kong Xiao could bring her tens of millions of dollars every year. She was very rational and often advised Kong Xiao to be rational. Only after Wan Yin left did Kong Xiao let go of Su Mo, but he still stared into her eyes. Are you angry? You already know what kind of man I am. Yes, I know, but I didn't expect you to have no integrity at all. Su Mo said in a low voice, Kong Xiao, we don't owe each other anything. This is a check of 30 million. I haven't touched it yet. Just take it that we had sex the last time. She put the check aside and left without looking back. Actually, she thought to herself that she was still a little sad. She had liked him for a few years and was still willing to sleep with him when she said that he was for sale. But when she saw him rolling in the sheets with another woman, Su Mo knew that everything was over. He was so dirty that she couldn't sleep. In the past, she had always thought that she was free and easy. But today, she realized that she still had a bottom line. If she said she didn't want it, then she didn't want it. No matter how rich he was, how skilled he was, or how comfortable he made her, so what? She didn't want it. She didn't cry. It wasn't like her husband was the one who caught them in the act. They were just pals. It was just that other women could accept it, but she couldn't. He was right. His circle was like this. She just couldn't stand it. Su Mo retreated, and Kong Xiao caught her. Su Mo, she smiled faintly. Don't say that you don't go to bed with other women. That's not you, Kong Xiao. Don't feel pressured. I'm not your girlfriend. I just don't want to make a deal. Kong Xiao, I'm sorry, but I really can't bring myself to eat cabbages that have been used by others. Even if they look good, I can't bring myself to eat them. He grabbed her and said in a low voice, Then what do you want? Do you want to find a clean man to sleep with? Can you guarantee that he won't cheat? She was still smiling faintly. I've thought about it. It's better to be the one spending the money. Didn't you say that the ducklings cost 500 yuan? At least they will coax me. They will call my sister that I'm the prettiest. They will say that I'm not big enough, and they will say that it's fashionable now. At least when I'm spending the money, they belong to me completely. She still broke away from his hand. She went out. Behind her, he said in a low voice, Su Mo, you're lying. Her body stiffened. He continued, You just had hope for me. You just hoped that I could keep my chastity for you. You found out that you're not my only woman, so you quarreled with me. You wanted me to promise you that I wouldn't have anyone else in the future, right? Su Mo lowered his eyes. You're thinking too much, Kong Xiao. End of this chapter. Chapter 4006. You still like me. You said that I'm a male whore, but you're still willing to sleep with me. He walked forward and hugged her from behind, resting his face on her shoulder. Isn't it good for us to be together? I won't let you see this again. I can even prepare another apartment, just the two of us. Su Mo lowered her eyes and muttered, Strange. Kong Xiao, I really don't know why you're so stubborn about sleeping with me. To be honest, your manager's figure is much better than mine. It'll feel better if you hug her. Su Mo turned around in his arms. I can't afford to play your game. She retreated from his embrace. I'm not a saint, and I'm not willing to be your appetizer. Kong Xiao, I'm not a good person either. Really, I'm not someone else's stepping stone. I'll protect myself. I won't be used by others and then kicked away. She stared into his eyes. In this world, I only believe in myself. And perhaps when you on. You know what she means to me, so even if she liked him, it was just a liking. In the face of survival, this kind of liking was nothing, and sleeping with him once or twice was nothing. If she cared too much about it, she, Su Mo, would have wasted so many years and become a joke. She was someone who could let go of things easily. Wasn't it just a man? There were plenty of two-legged men on the streets, and Kong Xiao wasn't the only man. She wasn't thirsty enough to share a man with another woman. Su Mo turned and left. Kong Xiao didn't ask her to stay. Just like how there was no love between them, it was a matter of flesh and blood. No one had to accommodate or force the other. However, he was a little frustrated. He vaguely knew that Su Mo was disappointed in him. She was willing to be with him because she had some hope. Her hopes were destroyed by him before she could say it. He didn't ask her to stay because this was the rule of his game. He wasn't willing to change it. He didn't want to get married. He looked down at the check in his hand and tore it off gently, as if he was tearing off his relationship with Su Mo. After that, he never slept with Ruan Yun again, and Ruan Yun never mentioned it. Life went on as usual. He was still the most popular violinist in the world. Many women flocked to him, but he still played the game of luxury. He rarely went back to the apartment, and when he did, he would sleep in the guest room. In the room where he and Su Mo had rolled in the sheets, he would occasionally wonder if their fates would have been different if he had cut off all contact with other people after half a year. He didn't know where to start. Later on, he found out from Wen Yuan that Su Mo had a couple of men who were in the red wine business or something. However, after staying over a few times, they stopped contacting each other. He didn't know if Wen Yuan had sensed something and had said it on purpose. He remained silent on the phone. Wen Yuan sighed. Kong Xiao, let me treat you to a meal. He was a little surprised, but he still went. It was a very good French restaurant. What surprised him even more was that not long after he ordered his food, when Yuan said that he had an appointment with Su Mo, Kong Xiao took a sip of his aperitif and smiled faintly. Why did you invite her? When Yuan propped up his chin and looked at him. I invited her for you, Kong Xiao. Really, Su Mo is a very good girl. Aren't you going to consider it? If you marry her, I can be your child's godmother. Chapter 4007. I need you to appear. Kong Xiao gave a hollow laugh. It seems very tempting. Does Su Mo agree? She doesn't know. When Yuan frowned. Do as you see fit. If you don't like her, don't provoke her. You mean have sex with her? Kong Xiao said straightforwardly. When Yuan was speechless and whispered, Can you not be so direct? Kong Xiao smiled faintly and didn't say anything else. At this moment, Su Mo came over and was stunned when she saw Kong Xiao. Then she sat down arrogantly. Sorry to have to work overtime. She looked at Kong Xiao and squeezed out a smile. Long time no see, Mr. Kong. Kong Xiao saw that she seemed to have lost some weight and smiled faintly as he poured her a glass of water. Long time no see. You didn't call me that before. Su Mo nodded. It's better to keep some distance between people. What do you think, Mr. Kong? He nodded understandingly. That's true. Otherwise, it would be bad if your boyfriend misunderstood. Su Mo held her chin and smiled. I don't have a boyfriend, but I recently signed a new young man. He's only 22 years old, and his specialty is that he's clean. And he's in their 30s like this kind of clean person the most. Kong Xiao's expression didn't change, but his pupils deepened. When Yuan looked at them and said in confusion, Are you guys unhappy? Why do you sound like you've buried tons of explosives? No, they said in unison. Su Mo smiled fakely. Mr. Kong has such a good appearance. Any woman would like him. How could I bear to blow him up? Such a person should be kept for the benefit of mankind. No matter how stupid Wen Yuan was, he knew that they had no chance. Su Mo was very straightforward and couldn't act. She would show her dislike for someone. At this moment, her dislike for Kong Xiao was very obvious. She would be blind if she still couldn't see it. When Yuan had a headache, how could she be bewitched by Yi Mubai to think that they were compatible? The meal was a little awkward. Later, when Yuan thought that it was better to let them get along and solve any misunderstandings by themselves, she got into Yi Mubai's car and left. The remaining two were still sitting. It had been 2 months since they last met. Kong Xiao wanted to smoke, but this was a high-class restaurant, so he held back and asked her, How did you get here? If you're not driving, I'll give you a lift. He still had this bit of elegance. He thought that Su Mo would refuse, but she didn't. She directly told him her address and impolitely asked him to send her there. Perhaps he had misunderstood because when he sent her home, he locked the car door. Let's talk, Suemo. She tilted her head and looked at him. Then she was a little puzzled. I just want to save money, nothing else. Kang Xiao, don't think too much. There were millions of men in the world, and he was not the only one. He was a little stunned, and then said in a hoarse voice, Then why didn't you earn the 30 million? Because I can't sleep, she said straightforwardly. Kang Xiao, I'm not someone who has no bottom line like you. I know that you're not a man who wants to get married, but even if we're in a relationship, I thought that it would be a one-on-one relationship. Don't think that just because you threw out 30 million, I have to acquiesce to you messing around. You can sleep with someone else today and me tomorrow. I'm sorry, I really can't eat overnight food. In a chapter. Chapter 4008. Are we going to compete in being ruthless? Kang Xiao tilted his head and said softly, You want a one-on-one relationship? Suemo looked at him. Really? You can't do anything with just that bit of money. Do you think you can force yourself to eat junk food with just 30 million? She said, Kang Xiao, everyone has a past, but I'm not a reckless person. I, Suemo, will never lose my bottom line for the sake of my own interests. Even if the person is someone I really, really liked in the past, it's still the same. My liking is also conditional. Not just any scum is worthy of my liking. No matter how handsome you are, no matter how good your skills are, if you're messed up, then I'm sorry, but in my heart, you're still a male whore, a lecher. After Suemo said that, he reached out and knocked on the car window. Put me down. Being so lovey-dovey isn't like you, Kang Xiao. If he wasn't ruthless and didn't know how to give up, how could he have gotten to where he was today? She never thought that he would stop for her. Even if he held back his urges and didn't touch anyone for the time being, if he needed to work with someone one day, he probably wouldn't be able to do it for the sake of money. Or perhaps he was just a lecher to begin with. Suemo wasn't naive. A man who had immersed himself in the entertainment industry for so many years couldn't leave. If you wanted him to be clean, you might as well meet someone on the streets. Kang Xiao suddenly said softly, Suemo, do you have no confidence in men? Yes. She didn't deny it. But it's not like there aren't any good men. Yes, she didn't deny it. But it's not that there aren't any good men. Yi Mulin and Yi Mubai are not bad. Kang Xiao, I used to think that you were very good. I did like you, but that's all in the past. You really shouldn't think that once a woman touches you, she can't leave you. There are many things like that in this world. Really, they aren't as valuable as you men think. You also said that you can buy one for 500 yuan. His face was a little dark as he said softly, Don't you want to think about it? We're still very happy together. If it's physical, then forget it. So, Emo knocked on the window again. Put me down. Yet, he refused to let go. He looked straight ahead before lowering his head and lighting up a cigarette. Taking a puff, he muttered to himself, You're angry and regretful because you've fallen in love with me, an imperfect me. So, you're angry at yourself, and you can't accept it. With that, he looked at her and smiled wickedly. In fact, when it came to women, he was quite good at it. He was very good at reading women's minds. Sumo's thoughts were not difficult to guess. He had always known, but she wanted too much, and he couldn't give it to her. He was willing to give it to her, but she disdained it. He would talk to her. They would meet halfway. Let's be together. I won't touch another woman for a year. If we're compatible for a year, we'll get married. I won't betray you in marriage, he said softly. His brows were furrowed, as if he wasn't in a particularly good mood. Suemo stared straight into his eyes and chuckled. Sounds like it's a very generous offer. Kang Xiao, you've never talked about getting married to any of your previous women, right? Should I be especially honored and feel that I'm different? Because you're thinking about getting married when you're not going to get married, just so you can fuck me once a year? She raised her head slightly. What gives you such a sense of superiority? Is there a diamond in your eyes? Or is it that I, Suemo, can't find a man? End of chapter. 4M. Chapter 4009. Is this a competition of being ruthless? She banged on the window again. Open the door. If you don't open it, I'll scream. What answered her was his burning hot lips that firmly blocked her lips. Suemo wanted to resist, but he reached out to hold the back of her head and forcefully pressed her against him. He even unbuckled her seatbelt and pulled her body towards him, sitting in a shameful position in his arms. No, Suemo was stunned. She couldn't believe that he was being rough with her. Yes, rough. She tried her best to move back, but her back was burning against the steering wheel. He dragged her into his arms and kissed her fiercely as he peeled her out of her clothes. Suemo was stunned. They were in a car, and they were downstairs. What was he going to do to her here? But he was too strong. She struggled and resisted, and bruises appeared on her body. It was very painful, but it was him who hurt the most. Kanchiao kissed and hugged her like a madman. The corner of her mouth was bruised and even swollen. She had no choice but to lower her head and hug his head. She was in so much pain that she couldn't help but put her lips on his neck and bite down hard until she tasted blood. It was a crazy entanglement, and they wouldn't stop until death. But no matter how bright the fireworks were, there would be a moment when they would be extinguished. Perhaps it would only take 5 minutes or 10 minutes for them to go from hot to cold. No one knew. Sumo's body went limp. She leaned against the steering wheel and smiled. Kanchiao, are you satisfied now? She wasn't in a hurry to get up. Since they had already done it, it would be a little pretentious to run away now. However, it was true that he had raped her. Suemo took a cigarette from the dashboard and lit it gently. The moment the cigarette lit up, the corner of her eyes seemed to light up. Suemo smoked calmly, ignoring him and not talking to him. For Kanchiao, this match was a unique satisfaction. He had slept with many women. Suemo was not considered beautiful. She was ordinary, but she was very charming when she did it. Moreover, she was very loyal to his feelings. When he was with her, it was like two primitive beasts. His shirt was extremely disheveled, 3 buttons were undone, and one of them had been pulled off by Suemo. His black hair was also disheveled, and he looked very different from how he usually did. Suemo slowly smoked his cigarette and even sat on his lap. After a while, she suddenly said, "Let's make a deal." He looked at her lazily. Suemo didn't avoid his gaze and smiled lightly. I recorded it just now. Kankio's expression changed. As a celebrity, it was taboo to be recorded or threatened by a woman. Damn it, he had actually forgotten what Suemo was. I know you want to do it with me, but I don't want to do it with you. Didn't you say that it was a pity that you couldn't give away 30 million yuan? Tonight's recording will cost you 100 million yuan. Otherwise, the crime of rape will be enough to ruin your reputation. Suemo took a deep breath of the cigarette. Suddenly, she turned the cigarette around and burned Kankio's left shoulder. He made a sound that sounded like he was in pain, but his body didn't move. Suemo seemed to smell burnt flesh, but she didn't show any mercy. She put out the cigarette and said coldly, "Compared to going to jail, I think you'd rather spend money to avoid disaster, right? I was going to skim over it, but I accidentally liked Suemo, Kankio's flesh. I marked it." End of this chapter. Chapter 4010. Kanchiao stared at her, his eyes like quenched ice. What kind of woman was she? At this moment, she was still in his arms with her clothes in a mess, yet she could say such heartless words. How ruthless! His fingers slowly held her chin. I underestimated you in the past. Suemo was still smiling, unmoved. I treat my own people differently from my enemies. Kanchiao, do I have to say it's great when you rape me? Don't think too much of yourself. In this world, you can't live your life day by day. His face darkened, not because he cared about the money, but because of her attitude. Don't say that you didn't enjoy it just now. He gritted his teeth and wanted to strangle her. Suemo was very frank. It was a little painful at first, but I enjoyed it later. Did Kanchiao say that I can't sue you? But will it affect your image to drive a car with a woman? Are you willing to make it public? Now, our relationship? She smiled wickedly. Kanchiao finally knew how powerful this woman was. She turned hostile faster than he could pull up his pants. However, he still stroked her chin. Are you sure you want the money and not me? Money. She chuckled. His gaze tensed. Tonight was intentional. A trap. He was fooled. And then 100 million. Sumo's pupils shrank, and her heart ached as if it was stabbed by something. but she still smiled heartlessly. What do you think? He narrowed his eyes, looked at her, and then threw her aside. He took out a checkbook from somewhere and wrote a set of numbers. 100 million. Countless zeros. He put the check in her hand and said in a low voice, "Manager Sue, remember to take the medicine. If you give me 100 million next time, I won't admit it even if you tell me it's my child. After all, I'm not that pure." She felt a stab of pain in her heart, but she didn't seem to care. "Don't worry, there won't be such a day. Even if I'm pregnant, I'll still treat it as a cat or dog. I won't blame it on Mr. Kong." She pretended to be calm and tidied up her clothes. Without her saying anything, he automatically unlocked the car door. Sue Mo got out of the car with her handbag, and her legs were shaking. When she got out of the car, Kong Xiao suddenly said, "Maybe we're not suitable for each other, living in the dark." "Sue Mo, when I look at it, it's like I'm looking at myself. It's no different from me, just a bit more expensive." After he finished speaking, he started the car and slowly drove out of her sight. Sue Mo stood there for a long time until he could no longer see his car. The night breeze sobered her up a lot. From the beginning to the end, she was drenched in cold sweat, but in the end, she was holding a check of 100 million. Buried her last love. There were so many gifts for Wen Yuan. All the good things were for Wen Yuan, while the dirty side of him was left to her, Sue Mo. He said that they were the same people. How could they be the same people? She, Sue Mo, lived in the sunlight. She left the darkness for herself. She laughed and laughed with tears. She didn't go straight home. Instead, she slowly dragged her exhausted body to the 24-hour pharmacy outside the neighborhood. Under the strange gaze of a shop assistant, she bought a box of morning-after medicine and a bottle of water. She didn't go straight home. Instead, she sat down by the roadside and enjoyed the night breeze. She drank the ice-cold water and took a morning-after medicine. Sue Mo was the only one left. Chapter 4011. In this world, Wen Yuan might be her only source of warmth. She didn't need a child, especially Konkyo's child. Sue Mo sat in the cold wind as she swallowed the bitterness of the medicine. Perhaps it was too bitter, but when it reached her stomach, she actually felt nauseous and threw it up again. She was in a sorry state. She looked at him in a daze before saying softly, "Actually, what I want is very simple." She really just wanted a family, a man who treated her sincerely. She used to think that Kan Xiao was a man who could give Wen Yuan a family and warmth. She didn't expect him to do anything to her. She just wanted to watch from afar. It was too hurtful to watch him up close. She was hurt now. When she asked for 100 million, the disdain and contempt in his eyes was so obvious, as though she was for sale. That's right, she was for sale. She didn't want to hear him say that it was suitable to get married in a year's time. How could she be so naive as to believe that Kan Xiao would never get married? Even if he was willing to get married, his fans wouldn't be willing either. How could a man like him not be a prince? How could he be willing to wash diapers? The only person he was willing to do it was Wen Yuan. Actually, even Wen Yuan wouldn't be willing. This was a man who was born to be a male whore. Sue Mo pried, opened the medicine box, and swallowed a pill. Later, she found a convenience store and bought a lot of beer, 12 cans. She placed them by her feet and drank them one by one. She drank while crying. She just met a jerk? What's the big deal? Sue Mo didn't even know what time she drank or when she got home. She only knew that she felt terrible, so she lay on the sofa without taking off her clothes. When she woke up, she had a splitting headache. The scattered phone at the side kept ringing. Sue Mo rubbed her head and reached for it. "Hello." It was Wen Yuan's voice. Wen Yuan's voice had never sounded so anxious or calm. "Sue Mo, someone took a picture of you and Kan Xiao in the car last night." Sue Mo was stunned. She slapped her head hard. "Wen Yuan, what did you say? Go to any website and take a look. There are headlines everywhere." Wen Yuan bit his lips. "Mubai asked you, how are you and Kan Xiao?" This would depend on the intentions of both parties, and the methods of handling it would be different. Wen Yuan knew that Yi Mubai could ignore it. After all, Sue Mo was only a manager, not an artist. Kang Xiao's influence was greater, but Yi Mubai still treated it seriously so that she wouldn't be sad. Sue Mo held the phone in one hand and opened the laptop. Then, he saw the legendary Mini 1 video 1. Kong Xiao's face could be seen clearly, and his movements could also be seen clearly. There was no way to deny it. Fortunately, she could only see his back and not his face. Su Mo stared blankly for a long time before saying in a hoarse voice, "There's no need to deal with it. Kong Xiao, you can decide for yourself." Wen Yuan knew it was Su Mo because of the clothes, the location, and the fact that they were together last night. The timing matched, but no one else knew. Wen Yuan put down his phone and turned to look at Yimu Bai. "What should we do?" Su Mo said that he didn't take a picture of her face, so don't worry about it. Is there something going on between her and Kong Xiao? It's obvious that they had a falling out. Yimu Bai patted her hand. Su Mo is right. Kong Xiao should deal with this matter. When Yuan chased after him, Yimu Bai, no. Did you already know that there was something going on between them? He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about new wife number 1. Hubby, addicted to pampering. On WeChat, he followed Yudo literature, talking about life and looking for a bosom friend. Chapter 4012. They have countless legs. You are too stupid. Yimu Bai lowered his head and kissed his wife. Do you remember HIV? When Yuan opened her eyes wide and looked at him in disbelief. He kissed her on the lips. Do you remember? It took Wen Yuan a long time to come to his senses. You knew that they were together? Yimu Bai, aren't you being too black-bellied? She didn't even need to use her toes to know why he had tried so hard to make her rub it. He was too hateful. Yimu Bai, you have to take responsibility. Wen Yuan was furious. He clenched his fist and hit him on the shoulder. He let her be. He only grabbed her hand when it was too outrageous and bit it. Don't be angry. You want me to be responsible for marrying Su Mo? He looked at her. Wen Yuan stared at him. His heart was beating fast. He smiled. Okay. I'm almost 40. It's hard to feed one person. Wen Yuan was angry. Yimu Bai, can you be serious? Sure. He suddenly sighed softly. Su Mo and Kong Xiao. Kong Xiao looks like a sunshine angel, but in fact, she has a pair of black wings on her back. As for Su Mo, she is fierce and lacks any femininity, but she is really a stupid angel. I once thought they were suitable. Wen Yuan, if they can't be together, it must be because of Kong Xiao, not Su Mo. Kong Xiao circle is too complicated. Su Mo leaving now may be the best protection for her. Wen Yuan murmured, but I will think that I hurt her. Don't think so seriously. Su Mo is not a flower in a greenhouse. Yimu Bai reached out and pulled his wife into his arms. Believe me, it will be Kong Xiao who will suffer in the future. Now he will think that it was Su Mo who released the news, but you and I both know that Su Mo won't. In addition to loving money, she is especially afraid of getting into trouble. When Yuan looked at him and said, then, they're all adults. Shouldn't they clean up their own shares? CEO Yi smiled. Besides, Kong Xiao's agent is a top agent. His PR skills are first class. When Yuan was worried about Su Mo, so she still called Kong Xiao. Kong Xiao was silent for a moment. It's Su Mo, but I ended things with her. It's not appropriate. When Yuan lowered his eyes. Then what about your video? Kong Xiao smoked his cigarette and did not say anything. But later on, when Yuan knew his decision, Kong Xiao officially announced their relationship. However, it wasn't with Su Mo. She was a rising star in the modeling industry and had a good image. She was only 22 years old and had a good family background. When Yuan knew that this was a conditional publicity stunt, perhaps the fake show would turn into reality. Who knew? Su Mo also saw the official announcement. Kong Xiao's 184 centimeters body and 178 centimeters body looked very compatible when they stood next to each other. Kong Xiao was thinner than her, but Xion was much bigger than her. From the beginning to the end, Kong Xiao only called her and asked, "Did you let them out?" She said no. He was silent for a moment, then said that he understood. However, Su Mo knew that in his heart, she was the one who did it. Because she, Su Mo, was a sinister, money-loving woman, a bad woman who was ready to extort another sum of money from him. Actually, she was quite a bad woman. He was right. Actually, She was not sad at all. She did not want to cry at all. Actually, when he posted the announcement on Weibo, she was not hurt at all. She did not feel abandoned at all. Not at all. She was Sue Mo. She loved money very much. Who could hurt her? She was a female King Kong. If she was hurt so easily, then she would be too stupid. Later on, Sue Mo transferred 100 million to her account. Looking at so many zeros, she smiled gently. It didn't matter whether she was misunderstood or not, as long as she had money. This was the price of being raped. This was the price of being abandoned. She laughed softly, tears welling up in her eyes. She resigned from Stars Entertainment. She did not want to come into contact with the entertainment industry anymore. Although it would give her both fame and fortune and a lot of money, that was not her. It was not Sue Mo. She thought that she would be more comfortable in jeans and a sweater. Tomorrow's update wanted to chat with more like-minded people about new wife number 1, hubby addicted to pampering. On WeChat, she followed Yuta Literature, talking about life and looking for bosom friends. Chapter 4013. The next time Sue Mo saw Kong Xiao was when she was having dinner with Wen Yuan. When Wen Yuan heard Mu Bai say that Sue Mo had resigned, she was a little shocked and asked Sue Mo out. It was a restaurant in a seaside club. The environment was nice and relaxing. Sue Mo's hair was short and only reached her shoulders. She was wearing black casual pants and a white t-shirt with a beige knitted sweater. It was simple and refreshing, but she looked much younger. Wen Yuan was speechless for a moment. Sue Mo had been a loyal supporter of Chanel for the past 2 years. Sue Mo sat down and sighed. Chanel's Empress Dowager is gone, so I won't wear it anymore. Yes, she's gone. Sigh. Wen Yuan tugged at her hair. It's pretty good now. Does this mean you've turned over a new leaf? Sue Mo snatched her hair back and glared at Wen Yuan. That's a very unique explanation. Did CEO Yi teach you that in bed? Wen Yuan sighed. All you think about is bed. Oh yeah. Do you want to tell me about the HIV? She and Sue Mo talked about everything. Sue Mo looked down and smiled. It's just like what you think. Kong Xiao and I had sex that night. There's nothing to regret. Wen Yuan didn't say anything. Sue Mo continued. Kong Xiao is like someone's poem. Don't say goodbye to Kong Xiao. Wen Yuan, do you know that he's not a man who's willing to stay with a woman? Maybe you can, but you've missed out. She didn't continue. It wasn't that she wasn't sad. No matter what, she had liked him. It was like a beautiful apple. You were excited when you nibbled on it, but when you realized that it was rotten, you were in a terrible mood. Wen Yuan knew that Sue Mo wasn't just a little sad. She was hiding because she was injured. Kong Xiao's manager, Ruan Yun, had signed Kong Xiao to King Entertainment. In the future, she might focus on her career in the country. Well, it was good enough for her to stay in the country. Besides, Teacher Kong was old. Wen Yuan couldn't say anything, so she could only accompany Sue Mo to recover. Sue Mo said in a low voice, Don't worry, I'll be fine, because I'm Sue Mo. Wen Yuan forced a smile. She grabbed Sue Mo's hand and ate quietly. She knew that Sue Mo would be able to get through this because she was Sue Mo. However, unexpectedly, when they were paying the bill, they bumped into Kong Xiao and his manager. Seeing Ruan Yun together with him, Sue Mo would recall the scene he saw in the apartment that day, and he would feel disgusted. She covered her mouth and said to Wen Yuan, I'm going to the bathroom. Wen Yuan looked at Kong Xiao and nodded silently. I'll wait for you outside. Sue Mo had already run to the washroom. He really couldn't help it. Kong Xiao wanted to follow them, but Wen Yuan stopped him. Kong Xiao, think about it. Do you want to look for Sue Mo? It's over. Kong Xiao's eyes were very deep, and her expression was one that Wen Yuan had never seen before. She thought that this might be the black wings that Sue Mo had mentioned spreading out. Kong Xiao pushed her away, and Wen Yuan simply blocked his way with his body. Ruan Yun smiled and said, Wen Yuan, this is a private matter between Kong Xiao and Sue Mo. Can't you let them settle it themselves? It's also related to the friendship between King Entertainment and Stars Entertainment. Wen Yuan had always been gentle and would never make things difficult for others. She looked at Ruan Yun and smiled coldly. Unfortunately, Sue Mo is my friend, my best friend. As for the friendship, It's not something that can be broken just because you say so. However, a few words that I say to Mubai might be worth 100 words that you say to Chinamo. Do you want to try, Miss Ruan? Hurry up and read the latest update. Chapter 4014. She had never been so mean and domineering before, but she did it for Su Mo. Because Su Mo had protected her more than once. Su Mo was younger than her and shorter than her, but it was as if Su Mo had an energy engine, always appearing at the right time and standing in front of Wen Yuan. Ruan Yun's face darkened, but what Wen Yuan said was the truth. In the past, she had thought that Wen Yuan was gentle, so she had been sharper just now. She didn't say anything, but Kong Qiao pushed Wen Yuan's hand away and walked inside. Wen Yuan stood behind him and whispered, "Kong Qiao, do you still want to hurt her? Su Mo isn't as strong as you think. She's not what you think." That was why she wanted to protect Su Mo, because a person could cry, shed tears, and be sad. Su Mo was also a person, not a King Kong Barbie. Kong Qiao paused and said in a low voice, "I just have a few words to say to her." Wen Yuan clenched her fists and smiled. "All right." Kong Qiao went in, leaving Ruan Yun and Wen Yuan alone. Wen Yuan turned around, her expression a little tense. She said in a low voice, "You and Kong Qiao are in a relationship, aren't you? And you've been in a long-term relationship, right?" Ruan Yun's expression changed slightly, but she still smiled. "Where did you find out?" "Because of HIV. If Kong Qiao hadn't said something so messy, Su Mo wouldn't have taken an HIV test for him. And you've been working with him for so many years, but you've never gotten married." Wen Yuan seemed to be enlightened. She finally understood why Su Mo was so determined. It was because Kong Qiao was too messy. To Wen Yuan, she couldn't even stand Lu Man, who she had a one-night stand with, let alone Ruan Yun, who was always by her side. It was as uncomfortable as eating a fly. Wen Yuan could empathize with that feeling. Ruan Yun's expression finally turned ugly. She was no longer as calm as before. Wen Yuan's voice became even softer. "Kong Qiao probably didn't know who released that video, did he? Miss Ruan, are you doing it for his body or the money he brings?" Ruan Yun clenched her fists. "Kong Qiao is so outstanding. I don't want him to fall too deep. The last thing in this industry is true love." Kong Qiao treated Wen Yuan differently. He was a good person, and he would never get Wen Yuan. But Su Mo was different. If she didn't take some measures, Kong Qiao would probably give in, become mediocre, and even retire from the music industry. She had painstakingly cultivated a new star. How could she let him fall? Wen Yuan smiled coldly. "You don't need to worry about it. In my heart, Kong Qiao is not worthy of Su Mo. Let him continue to be a prince. You don't have a heart. Kong Qiao treats you so well." Ruan Yun lost her composure. Wen Yuanji smiled faintly. "However, Su Mo is more important to me. And because she's a woman." Ruan Yun was speechless. In the bathroom, Su Mo didn't vomit. She just felt uncomfortable and nauseous. She washed her face and forced herself to calm down. She forced herself not to think about it. Female restroom. Then, a familiar figure appeared in the mirror. At this moment, Kong Qiao didn't realize that he had lost his composure in front of Wen Yuan. This meant that Su Mo was important to him. However, he didn't realize it. At this moment, he was only angry indescribably. Chapter 4015. They looked at each other in the mirror. Su Mo patted her face. "Mr. Kong, aren't you afraid that your reputation will be tarnished?" "Why?" he asked her softly. Su Mo's heart ached. She turned around. "You're talking about the TV channel?" "Yes, I did it. Do you know what kind of person I am?" She stretched out a finger and poked his chest. "Repay kindness with kindness, and repay resentment with resentment. Do you think you can get away with raping me?" "Kong Qiao, you're underestimating a woman's vengeance." His expression was very ugly, especially ugly. With a clench of his hand, her body was forcefully pressed against the sink. Kong Qiao stared at her. "You want to take revenge on me?" His voice was cold, but his breath was extremely hot, as if he was going to melt her. Up close, he also noticed that she had changed. She wasn't like before when she wore ridiculous clothes and tried her best to look upper class. Now, Suemo was as real as the Suemo he had met in the beginning. However, the word real was a bit ridiculous to use on her. Real? 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 She asked for 100 million yuan from him and then turned around to slap him. Did she hate him just like that? Kong Xiao's body was pressed against her. His eyes were heavy and painful. Or do you think that I can be with you because of this? Suemo was about to explode. Kong Xiao, are you a little damn? She smiled coldly. Maybe other women treat you like a treasure, but Suemo, won't. Yes, in your eyes, I'm a male whore. He suddenly let go of her, but his eyes were fixed on her. At that moment, Suemo felt like she was being caught. Her back was very painful. It was very painful. She was hurt by him rudely, and she was also a little disgusted. But she couldn't fall down. She couldn't show weakness. She looked at him mockingly, as if admitting that she had done everything, just because of revenge. She raised her head. Didn't you solve it well? Didn't you get threatened by me? Kong Xiao suddenly sneered and approached her again. She said very softly, that little model, I slept with her in the guest room of my apartment, the place we slept together. Sumo's whole body was cold. Kong Xiao walked straight out without a trace of reluctance. The door closed again, and Suemo vomited inside. When Yuan came in, she was still lying on her stomach, and she waved her hand weakly. Don't ask me, when Yuan, please. She slowly wiped her mouth and leaned to the side. She took out a cigarette and lit it. I just had a dream, and now I'm awake. She looked at Wen Yuan and smiled bitterly. Perhaps I never had a way to have happiness. Wen Yuan. Mo1. Wen Yuan. Wen Yuan. Wen Yuan, Mo said when Yuan Mo, and when Yuan, and Mo, and again, Tisu, and when I in single quote Yusu, she cried and said that she was still very sad. What should she do? She said that she wasn't the one who did it, so why did she have to blame it on her? Why did she have to be the scapegoat after being raped? She had only accidentally fallen in love with someone, so why did she have to be treated like this? I know. Suemo, you didn't do it. Suemo cried like a child. When Yuan, it hurt a lot that night. It really hurt. I don't want to look for a man again. When Yuan, it hurt a lot that night. It really hurt a lot. I don't want to look for another man ever again. End of chapter. Hurry up and read the latest update. Chapter 4016. When Yuan didn't know what to say. In the end, she called Yi Mubai and took Suemo home. Warm hot water, delicious desserts, and healing herbs like xiangnan and night fennel made Suemo relax again and again. Late at night, when the children were asleep, she sat alone in front of the French window in the guest room and looked at the night sky outside. Only when she was alone did she feel that her heart still hurt. She had been completely hurt in this relationship. That person didn't even have the most basic trust and sentenced her to death. When Yuan came over and gave her a cup of hot milk tea. It was very hot, and it would feel good to drink it. Suemo held it and looked at Wen Yuan. Wen Yuan sat down. I'll sleep with you tonight. Suemo shook her head. No need, I'm fine. Wen Yuan hugged her. Suemo, cry if you want to. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Your tears have dried up. Suemo looked at her. Wen Yuan smiled and sat next to her in his pajamas. After a while, he sighed softly. Do you want me to vent your anger for you? Suemo was stunned for a moment. She hugged Wen Yuan and rested her head on his shoulder. Wen Yuan, you're so aggressive now. I want to call you husband, and you're rich. She was almost drooling as she spoke. Wen Yuan pinched her face. Don't. I don't have such a hobby. She whispered. You've guessed who did it, haven't you? Why don't you explain? Suemo looked at Wen Yuan. Revenge. Just let him and his agent be in love for the rest of their lives. I think this is the best revenge. Bitches are bound to stick together. Wen Yuan laughed again and stroked her shoulder-length hair. Okay, let them work together. Suemo nodded. I'm living well. Isn't there a saying that goes long live? Wen Yuan rubbed her head. Asterisk on the other side, in a high-end apartment, Kan Xiao stood in the living room and smoked. He had been smoking for the whole night, and he wasn't sleepy. He lied today. He said that he had slept with that model, but he didn't even know what that woman looked like. He just wanted to make Su Mo angry and see jealousy on her face. Seeing her uncomfortable made him feel better. He didn't know what was wrong with him. Why did he care about a woman who didn't follow the rules of the game? Previously, he thought that she was unwilling. It was fine if she was unwilling, but when she put the video one channel on the internet, he was a little angry. In fact, the thing that angered him the most was how ruthless she was. He only had two choices. The first was to admit that this woman was Su Mo. But in the end, she would say that they were dating and his career would be ruined. The second was to drag him down with him. He didn't have a girlfriend, and it wouldn't affect him at all. He chose his career and gave up the last shred of friendship he had with Su Mo. Perhaps there was no friendship between them in the first place. Ever since that day in the condominium with Ruan-Yun, she hated him to the core and once again pinned him to the pillar of shame as a male whore. Ruan-Yun stood on the other side with 2 glasses of red wine in her hands. She had taken a shower here. She did not know if he needed sex. She realized that Concho had changed. In the past, he would not have hesitated, but that day he spent an hour looking at his phone. She knew that he was waiting for Sumo's call, but she didn't get it. The news from the bank was that Conchiao had written a check for 100 million and the recipient was Su Mo. He didn't tell her. In his heart, Su Mo was different. A man like Conchiao never needed to spend money to find a woman. He had only known Su Mo for a short time, but he was willing to spend a lot of money on her. 6 more chapters tomorrow. Thank you for your support, little babies. I'm sending 50 Alipay red packets for 188 yuan. Don't stop after receiving them. Alipay red packets. Password. Good night, little babies. End of this chapter. Chapter 4017. She walked over and hugged Kong Xiao from behind, her voice a little low. Do you want to do it? Kong Xiao's body stiffened. He then looked down at Ruan-Yun's hand on his waist and said in a low voice, No need. I'm not interested. Ruan-Yun was still hugging his waist. You've never rejected me. Are you angry at me because of Su Mo? No. He denied it quickly. Ruan-Yun knew that he was lying, and he probably didn't know it himself. She then said softly, Are you angry because I asked you to create hype with someone else? That's only temporary. You can announce your breakup when the time is right. Kong Xiao, you know that this is the only way to save your reputation unless you're willing to go public with Su Mo. But I don't think she's willing, and even if she's willing, she might not let you off, so... Before she could finish, Kong Xiao pushed her hand away impatiently and said, I know, you can go back first. I want to be alone. Ruan-Yun looked at her empty hand and smiled silently. That's good. It's good for you to calm down. Kong Xiao, why don't you rest for a while? Go on a vacation or something. Don't be too tense. It'll be over soon. Kong Xiao pursed his thin lips and continued to look out into the dark night. Ruan-Yun tactfully left. She changed her clothes and drove away. Kong Xiao was the only one in the apartment. He poured himself a glass of red wine and sat in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. He looked at the night quietly and gripped the glass between his fingers tightly. He sat there for the entire night. At dawn, he called his accountant. Help me sell this apartment and find another villa. After saying that, he rubbed his tired eyelids and looked at the sky. Help me get it done in 2 days. I'm moving over. You could do whatever you want here. He didn't want to live here anymore. Not only could Su Mo not get over what happened that night, but he couldn't get over it either. He didn't want to think about how he had hurt a woman here and how she had taken revenge on him. Kong Xiao moved away to a high-class villa area, but life continued. He took a vacation and his life was still good. After half a year, he broke up with that model. Ruan-Yun was good at creating hype, and Kong Xiao started to take on some variety shows with high prices. He also started to diversify his career. Of course, he was also the #1 violinist in the country. No one could compare to him. As for Su Mo, he seemed to have disappeared from his life and world. He would only occasionally think of her when he was alone at night. Only occasionally, because most of the time, he would have a female companion. Kong Xiao's private life was colorful. He never lacked women, but his reputation was very clean, pure as ice and clean as jade. Sometimes he would mock himself. In the past 6 months, he had not seen Su Mo, nor had he heard any news about him. He had met Wen Yuan a few times at his mother's place. He knew that Wen Yuan was there and went later. He didn't know if he wanted to see Wen Yuan or if he wanted to get information from Wen Yuan. Wen Yuan had never mentioned Su Mo, and he did not ask about it. Just like that, it seemed to be over. One day, he met Su Mo in the hospital. That was almost 10 months later. His mother was hospitalized again. When he went to get the medicine, he saw Su Mo. Su Mo had lost a lot of weight and was pushing a baby carriage. Baby carriage? Chapter 4018. Konkyo's heart tightened. 10 months, a baby. He immediately went to the emergency staircase and stopped Su Mo before she left the hospital. Can you explain? His voice is really low and hoarse. Su Mo clenched her fingers and looked over. Kanxiao stood behind her and stuck very close to her. Then, he pulled the cute pink stroller over under her gaze. There was a tiny baby inside. It was thin and didn't look particularly healthy. He then looked at Su Mo. She was strangely thin, like a woman after giving birth. Your child? Kanxiao narrowed his eyes and asked the woman beside him. Su Mo was stunned for a moment before she smiled. Yes, it's my child. Is there a problem, Mr. Kanxiao? Kanxiao stared at her. You didn't take your medicine? Su Mo lowered her eyes. You're thinking too much. She silently took out the birth certificate from her bag. This child was born half a month ago. If it was me and my child, it would be at least a month. 40 weeks of pregnancy, including menstruation. Kanxiao squinted at her for a long time before he took it. Not only did he look at it, but he also took a picture with his phone. Finally, he picked up the child and looked at it carefully. Su Mo also let him look at it. Her voice was indifferent. Her name is Duo. She doesn't have a father. Kanxiao searched the child's face for a long time, but couldn't find his own genes. He put the child down. He thought that she wouldn't be stupid enough to give birth to his child. So, did she have it with someone else? This discovery made him very uncomfortable. He smiled coldly. You're quite open-minded to have a child out of wedlock. Is Su Mo so thirsty that she has a man after being separated from me for half a month? She smiled. Yes, lonely and thirsty. Can't I do that? His face instantly darkened, and he handed the child back to her. Kanxiao had a feeling that the child wasn't very healthy. Su Mo whispered, Duo has a congenital heart disease. Her voice was almost murmuring. Maybe she won't live for long. But she used all her heart and all her love for this child. Her birth was already pitiful. If she couldn't survive, then she would let Toto feel love in this world. Some people might think that she was hypocritical. Why didn't she let such a child live in pain for a year or two? If she was destined to leave, why did she let this little life continue to be in pain? Su Mo didn't know, but she had seen how the child was born. It was so difficult for an 18-year-old girl to give birth to the child. That girl had been deceived and got pregnant before marriage. She didn't even know where the child's father had gone, and before she could say anything, she had bled out. The child survived. It was as weak as a kitten, and it did not have any heart disease. This was also the reason why the unmarried girl did not take a pregnancy test. If she had known, she would not have been allowed to give birth, and the 18-year-old girl would not have died. Su Mo knew that she was a good person, but there was no other meaning to her life. She used all her money to set up a homeless home. She took in more than 80 homeless people, more than 30 small animals, and 7 or 8 staff. It was tiring, but it was quite fulfilling. Of course, the most tiring thing was Duo. The doctor gave her a death sentence, saying that the hole in the ventricle was too big and couldn't be plugged. Duo could leave at any time. Chapter 4019. That day, Su Mo cried for a long time. There was an empty spot next to the grave that she bought for the 18-year-old girl. If Duo couldn't survive, she would put Duo back by her mother's side and continue to be loved. After she said that, she looked up at Kanxiao and smiled. Can I go now? She was smiling, but there was no emotion in her eyes. Kanxiao loosened his grip. He didn't say anything and just stood to the side quietly. He watched as Su Mo pushed the cart forward. After walking for a while, she bent down and covered the baby with the blanket. When she bent down and tilted her face, her expression was especially gentle. Kanxiao had never seen such a gentle expression on her face before. She loved this child very much. Perhaps she loved the child's father very much. For a moment, he wanted to ask her who the child belonged to, but in the end, he didn't ask anything. It was interesting to ask. He looked at her quietly until Teacher Kong walked up to him and called his name. Kong Xiao, what are you looking at? Mom. Kong Xiao turned around. There was a moment of confusion on his face. I just met a friend. Teacher Kong said kindly. Is it a female friend? Kong Xiao was stunned for a moment before he nodded slowly. You can say that. Suemo looked like a boy now, but he looked much more pleasing to the eye. If it's a girl, why didn't you invite her to my place for a cup of tea? Teacher Kong scolded. Kong Xiao paused. Mom, this is the hospital, not home. He helped his mother to the second floor. This time, you're only staying for a week. I've asked the doctor, and he said that you're fine. It's just that your blood platelets are a little low and you don't get enough nutrition. Got it, I'll be careful. Teacher Kong patted his hand and paused. Wen Yuan always sends tonics over. You should treat her to a meal later. Now, Mubai doesn't care so much anymore. You should thank her properly. Thinking of Wen Yuan, Teacher Kong felt regretful. She was a teacher at the music academy and had taught many students. It would be a lie to say that she didn't know anything about her son. However, she felt a little melancholic. In the end, Kong Xiao was just like her students. Among all of them, only Wen Yuan didn't change. It was probably because of her family background that she didn't care about fame and fortune. However, it was really impossible for a girl like her to be with Kong Xiao. In this era, it was very important to have a match in terms of social status. Kong Xiao helped his mother to the VIP ward and stayed with her for a while. He used his connections to look up the name of the baby in the hospital. There were no birth records, just medical records. Congenital heart disease. When he saw these words, his heart tightened. The deputy dean was familiar with him, so he patted him on the shoulder. Why do you know him? You know the child's mother? Kong Xiao's voice was slightly soft. Is there a blood sample of this child here? I want to do a DNA test. He was a very reliable man. Because the time was too close, he was worried and wanted to do a DNA test. If it was his child, he would take responsibility. He would not let his child get sick. That would be so pitiful. When the vice president heard this, he was put in a difficult position. He smoked and hesitated for a moment before agreeing. He made a phone call and confirmed that there were still many blood samples in the hospital. He personally collected Kong Xiao's blood and went to the laboratory to collect many more blood samples. He personally sealed them for DNA testing. This process was confidential. Chapter 4020. New Wife Number 1. Hubby, I'm addicted to spoiling him. The newest chapter. 3 days later, the results were out. Kong Xiao took it, opened it, and read it. Her expression was somewhat silent. It was hard to tell if he was relieved or disappointed. The child really wasn't his. It didn't match him at all. It was Sumo's child with someone else. Kong Xiao smiled faintly and handed a check to the vice president. Thanks. The deputy director declined, but still accepted it. After a pause, he said, the child's illness is very serious. Many parents would give up, but Miss Su has spent a lot of effort on this child. I don't think she wants to give up. He sighed and said, what a silly girl. In the end, she was left with nothing. Kong Xiao didn't say anything. She pursed her lips. As he walked out, he thought to himself that this had nothing to do with him. Suemo had brought this upon himself. She was so stupid. She found a man with some kind of genes, gave birth to a child, and made her life a mess. Wasn't it good to be her manager, Sue? She ran to give birth to a child, and now she was covered in dirt. What a fool. A life he could not understand. Concho went out, looked at the report again, and finally tore it up slowly and threw it in the dustbin. His and Sumo's lives no longer intersected. Then, a few months later, he accompanied his mother to the hospital again. He met the deputy director and had a cup of coffee. The deputy director suddenly mentioned, do you still remember the child you tested for DNA? He left this morning. Conchiao was stunned. After a long while, he raised his head and looked at the person opposite him, as if he hadn't heard him clearly. The vice president's voice was both clear and indistinct. She's been under treatment for several months. She's practically staying in a hospital. That Miss Sue is a good mother. She hasn't given up even though she's almost dried up. Kong Xiao's heart felt like it was being pulled. He asked in a low voice, "Why didn't you tell me earlier? Don't ask about it if it's not your child. Concho, as a friend, I advise you to take care of your feathers." The vice president's voice was a little heavy. "Don't throw away what you have now. I know you don't lack money, so it doesn't matter if you quit now. But at your current level, don't go down so easily, unless one day you want to transform, just like Yimu Bai." Kong Xiao smiled at him. "Thanks." He left anyway, driving around in his car. Finally, it stopped at the place where she and Su Mo had sex that night. He stopped and sat in the car, smoking quietly. He wasn't a person who was nostalgic. He had slept with countless women, and if all of them were nostalgic, he wouldn't be able to remember them all. However, Su Mo was the only woman who had made him feel so dejected that he couldn't wait to go over to her. It was also the body that was most compatible with him. Although she was a little flat, she was not considered beautiful. He had almost completely abandoned everything that was related to her. The apartment, the car, everything that reminded him of her, he had thrown them all away. The only thing he hadn't thrown away was his own body, and he couldn't throw it away either. Concho sat quietly, smoking a cigarette. In the end, he still went to her house and knocked on the door. When the door opened, it was an unfamiliar face. Kong Xiao was stunned. He left. He spent a lot of money to get information. So at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he walked to a cemetery and saw Su Mo. She was alone, standing in the deserted graveyard, in front of a small grave, with small names carved on it, many, and a lovely photograph, in color, for she could not bear to leave black and white in the world of abundance. Chapter 4021. Sometimes Su Mo would ask herself why she couldn't bear to leave Duo, even though she knew that she would have to leave eventually. Perhaps it was because she knew that Duo only had her, and she only had Duo. She didn't know if she was wrong. She looked at him silently. She had been standing for a whole day, but she didn't know how tired she was. Until Kan Xiao came to his side. He looked at her, at Duo's name, and at the tombstone of the teenage girl by the side. Su Mo knew it was him. She said in a low voice she was only 16 years old. She met someone she shouldn't have and left after giving birth to Duo. I don't know if she can protect Duo in the afterlife. Kan Xiao was shaken. At that time, he had only tested his own DNA, not Su Mo's. He had never thought that the child wasn't Su Mo's. He was only concerned about whether the child was his. He muttered, "He's right, you're quite silly." She was such a despicable woman. Why did she make him feel even more despicable when she was kind? What right did she have to confuse his thoughts? What right did she have to fiddle with his nerves? Kan Xiao was furious, and the result of his anger was to capture her. He was about to question her, but he was stunned by the tears on her face. His voice became hoarse. Su Mo didn't say anything and hugged his waist. Gently, she hugged him. After a long time, Kan Xiao realized that the woman in his arms was very thin. She was so thin that she was almost skin and bones. In the past, it was just a little flat, but now he could hug her waist with one arm. She leaned on his shoulder and cried silently, wetting his shirt in a short while. It was wet and hot, and it was very uncomfortable. But he hugged her and let her cry on his shoulder. She didn't cry out loud. She didn't say anything either. In the cemetery, he hugged her for a long time. Then, he brought her back to his villa. He made dinner, and they went to bed. Kan Xiao couldn't even remember if it was him or Su Mo who took the initiative. When he woke up, they were already in bed, and there was no turning back. He hugged her, loving her fiercely as though he hadn't touched a woman for a few years. Su Mo responded, but he saw tears at the corner of her eyes. It wasn't because of excitement, but because of sadness. After a few times, he calmed down for a while. He was wrong. They shouldn't have crossed paths. They shouldn't have crossed paths more than a year ago. When he came out of the bathroom, Su Mo put on his shirt and leaned against the headboard. He held a cigarette in his hand and smoked slowly. For what he could see, her exposed shoulders were very thin and her collarbone was obvious. Hugging her, He felt that she might only weigh a few kilograms. He quietly looked at her, and Suemo also looked at him. After a while, she said in a hoarse voice, "Do you have any clothes? Lend me one." He didn't know why, but he felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. He walked over and took away her cigarette. "Don't smoke. Don't leave until dawn." Shaking her head, she lifted the quilt and got up. His back was even thinner. He hugged her with one hand and said hoarsely, "Suemo, let's talk." She fell into his arms again. Suemo raised his eyes and asked, "What do you want to talk about?" "Concho, we only went to bed once. I did it willingly because I needed a catharsis. Is that it? Or do you think the mistake will continue? Or are you afraid that I'll cling to you again?" She chuckled. "Don't worry, I won't. Less updates. I'll make it up tomorrow, wow." You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.